All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. We need to get Instagram going here. We're having some technical problems this morning. Let me get rid of this banner. There we go. I don't think we're going to get Instagram on. It's not working at all. I'm not sure why. Oh, it says we're live. I don't know. If you're on Instagram, let me know. I don't think it's connected. But for everybody else, we need to move on with the show. How's everybody doing this morning? Let me get on comments here. Welcome to Mornings with Scott, the best damn business show for medium and small businesses on the planet. Do you follow Brian Roemmele on X? That's the old Twitter, Brian Roemmele, Roemmele. He's a fun follow. He's got full of science and AI stuff. Brian is a multifaceted individual renowned for his expertise in voice technology, artificial intelligence, often described as a scientist, researcher, analyst, thinker with a deep curiosity, blah, blah, blah. Particularly noted for his work on voice AI and its implications for computing and commerce. Creator of the Multiplex app magazine. He's been the founder of several companies. He's an interesting dude, and he always posts about science, philosophy, different things along those lines. And last night he made a post, got me thinking this morning. He says, in most places, taking a shower is worse than smoking a pack of cigarettes per day. The average person spends over 70 hours per year in the shower. Most will not drink the water, but the air that they breathe from the unfiltered water is unknowingly exposing them to a cocktail of potentially cancer-causing damaging vapors. The warm water cascades down. It releases a slew of volatile compounds that would include chloroform, THMs, trihalomethanes, and other VOX volatile organic compounds. The chemicals are often present in the unfiltered water, but they evaporate quickly. And so they fill the shower with a toxic mist that is then inhaled. And the chloroform, the VOX, the fluoride are all, when you're breathing them, according to Brian in this scientific study, are cancer causing, worse than a pack of cigarettes a day. Like my grandmother used to smoke a pack of exported greens a day. Mind you, she lived to like 99, so maybe it didn't do her much harm. The danger of inhaling these vapors is heightened by the fact that the shower is in an enclosed space, and you have this warm, moist environment, and so the steam opens up your lungs, and it makes you more susceptible to absorbing these compounds. By the way, we're still not live on Instagram. I'm not sure what's happened to Instagram this morning, so technological problems. What are we going to do? So to minimize the risk associated with inhaling these vapors, it's essential to basically put a filter on your shower. So all of that. Now, why did I tell you all of that? Simply to say that when you see me at 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time and I have my hat on, it's not just because I haven't been to the gym yet and I'm going to shower then. No. It's these volatile organic compounds coming out of your shower head, according to Brian Roemmele. As I was logging on this morning, WestJet, many of you know, I've talked about it on the show before, that WestJet is my airline carrier of choice with my hundreds of thousands of miles that I accumulate all the time. And their fleet, I'm certain, is almost entirely consisting of Boeings that we've talked about on the show. The manufacturer with all the quality problems, the doors falling off in the air, and flights taking sudden nosedives, may or may not be recovered, people ending up in luggage bins. Boeing's had quite the run since they've had their DEI controversies. Well, I got an email from WestJet, which is entirely Boeing, this morning. As I was logging on, it says, we're reaching out to you today with an update on our operations resulting from the severe rain and hailstorm in Calgary on Monday evening. So I think the email is a little bit old, but I looked at it this morning. So the planes are grounded. You've got rain and hail coming down from the sky. Now, in fairness, out here in the mountains, we get we get hail sometimes the size of baseballs. It's crazy how big the hail is coming down, and it can do some damage. But they said after a comprehensive safety assessment, WestJet teams have determined that 16 aircraft, 16, require repair and inspections before they can be returned to service. So they had a rainstorm and it took out 16 aircrafts on the ground like they're in some sort of military operation. And with these aircrafts removed from service, unfortunately, we won't be able to take you on any flights, basically, is what this email says. So here's a question that occurred to me as I'm reading this. Should rain and hail falling from the sky be able to damage an aircraft? It doesn't seem comfortable to me. What if you hit similar weather conditions while flying at, say, 500 miles an hour and you start running into this sort of stuff? What happens to the aircraft then? If it can't handle the hail falling from the sky, what happens when you're in the air? This, as usual, this communication from WestJet is very much not comforting as to the competence and the safety of anything coming out of Boeing, which is the aircraft that the WestJet airlines fly. Speaking of Boeing, speaking of sketching airlines, Wall Street Journal reports this morning or yesterday that the astronauts, do you remember the astronauts? We talked about this about a month ago or a few weeks ago. So they rose their hand and they said, yeah, we would like to fly to the International Space Station on the Boeing Starliner spacecraft. That seems like a good idea. Hopefully the door stays on. Hopefully there's not some sort of software malfunction. Well, sure enough, they fly up to the space station in early June for a quick test run, and they're stuck. They're stuck. They've been stuck there ever since. And the news out of the Wall Street Journal yesterday is that they will be stuck there probably until 2025, just hanging out on the space station before they can hitch a ride back with who? Who's going to go rescue them? Exactly, Elon Musk. In 2025, February 2025, he's planning to ship a spaceship up there with a couple of empty seats and bring these people home. Wilmore and Williams are the astronauts' names. They've been aboard the space station since June 6, when they became the first astronauts to fly Boeing's Starliner vehicle. The temporary failure of several thrusters, the discovery of helium leaks in the ship's propulsion system, and other software malfunctions have turned the planned week-long visit into an extended stay. Hey, dear. Hi, I'm just heading to the space station. I'll be home next week. Whoops. By that, I mean 2025, if Elon comes to rescue me. NASA officials and Boeing have been debating whether the Starliner is safe enough. So NASA is saying, you can't bring these astronauts home on this spaceship. It's not going to make it. And Boeing's going, no, we're good. Everything's fine. And so Boeing, according to the Wall Street Journal, has vouched for the craft, whereas the NASA officials Wednesday said that they're working on backup plans with SpaceX, with the Elon Musk company. What else do we have here? Boeing said Wednesday that it still believed in its Starliner. If NASA decides to change the mission, we will take the actions necessary to configure Starliner for an uncrewed return. So according to Boeing, the concern here ought to be about their spacecraft, not necessarily the two people, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We think it's safe. And if the astronauts want to go home with Elon and we can't bring them home, well, we'll just bring our spaceship home without any people on it. You know, when I do these live streams, I try to have a main theme. It may not be immediate obvious, but I try to have a main theme threaded throughout. And the main theme today is competence is a hurdle to selling anything. That competence is not what you sell. Competence is a hurdle. Nobody buys something from somebody who's not competent. Just because you're competent doesn't mean you're going to buy from them, but you're sure as hell not going to buy if they're not competent. Right? That's the theme today, whether it's a product or service. Trust is another hurdle. You're not going to buy from somebody because you trust them, but you're sure as hell not going to buy from them if you don't trust them. These are barriers to entry, competence and trust. And if you don't buy from someone, you just don't buy from someone incompetent or untrustworthy. But what differentiates why you buy from A rather than B is benevolence. That's why you buy. They have to be competent. They have to be trustworthy, but you buy from them because of benevolence, because the counterparty cares and wants to do good. That's what we value as human beings. WestJet, in its communications, seems to go completely out of its way to make us wonder about competence and trust with its product. It is sitting on the ground in a rainstorm. We lost 16 aircraft. Boeing statement that if NASA decides to change the mission, it will take the actions necessary to configure Starliner for an uncrewed return. Says nothing about the safety of the astronauts or the fact that they're chilling out on the space station for what will end up to be 8 months if Elon is successful bringing them home. Not one word about them from Boeing. They don't give a hoot. Let's say they don't give a hoot. They don't have benevolence. They don't show caring. They're just talking about their confidence, which is painfully obvious that there is no confidence there. I told you yesterday in our live stream, I keep flipping back to the YouTube to see if it's gone live, but to the Instagram to see if it's worked, but it definitely has not. I told you yesterday that I had done a personal coaching session with an entrepreneur, someone who wants to start up a business, and that I had permission because I'm doing a limited number of free coaching sessions for people. And in exchange, I get access to the content. And we get to post it so that everybody can benefit from the same lessons. And so that is now on YouTube. And you can look it up on the Winning Momentum podcast channel, and you'll see it. I think today we're doing episode 253. So yesterday was 252. Was that full coaching session. It's about 30 minutes long. It covers a lot of topics. It covers business plans, pitch decks, financing, partnerships, shareholder contributions, the idea of how to get financing by thinking of explaining to your potential investors, your target market, what their return is going to be, how they get in, whether it's debt or equity or some combination, how they get out, what's the exit plan on this, and what's the security in between. And so you can find that on the YouTube channel. You can also go to the website, the personal website, thescottsinclair.com, thescottsinclair.com. That's a website, and it's intended to provide value to smaller companies than you might be used to with Sinclair Range, which is my main company if you're listening to this on LinkedIn. And so Sinclair Range is doing, some smaller but mid-sized businesses as well. Does investment banking, the turnaround advisory. We have a portfolio of businesses that we own, but thescottsinclair.com is intended for smaller, really smaller businesses and coaching services and that sort of stuff. And on there, I think you can find the coaching, the full coaching session on that website as well, that's scottsinclair.com. But you'll also see there's a blog in there where you get a ton of advice for free. And I think all of my content, you can register for a newsletter, usually weekly newsletter, not necessarily this summer, but a newsletter with a bunch of advice and information as to what's going on in my world that may be of benefit to you and your business. You can register there for coaching services, including for a limited time only. You can get some free coaching in your career, in your business, whatever you want. And we're launching, I'll be launching a business course that'll be available for sale. And that should be launched hopefully by next week. So go check it out, thescottsinclair.com. You can register, sign up for some free coaching. But as I promised yesterday, when I introduced this coaching session, I promised I would talk to you about this idea of more of competence trumps trust trumps competence, and benevolence trumps trust. It's hard to say anything with the word Trump in it these days without getting worried about how that's going to be perceived. So I'm going to change my lingo. All right. I heard a story. It was during COVID, and it was on, what was that app? Clubhouse. Remember Clubhouse? It was so popular. I had a 6-month run, and everybody was on Clubhouse and sharing stories and joining rooms. It was a pretty cool app for a short period of time. and I was delivering some content on there. Anyways, I was listening into somebody's room, and a psychologist was speaking and made what I thought was a fantastic story and a life-changing way to think about sales and pitching for me, for my perspective. Okay. And so the story was more or less as follows. Imagine you're at work and you have a hugely important presentation coming up for the board of directors, and you're working on it as a team. I don't know, 5, 6 people on the team, and you're each pitching in parts to the deck, which is going to be on a PowerPoint. And everybody's done their part. Everybody, believes that everybody's done their part. And when you get to do the presentation, what you find is one of your coworkers, their part of the presentation has spelling errors, has adding errors, grammar errors in the PowerPoint. The logic is flawed and is just hugely incompetent, and it reflects badly on your whole team. Imagine that happened to you. How do you feel? You feel frustrated. Maybe you feel pissed. Maybe you're a little bit angry at this person, but there's no but. That's how you feel about it. You feel that this person is incompetent and it's reflected badly on your whole team, right? That's how you feel about it. Now let's extend this a bit further. What if you're in the same scenario, but before this, everybody talks as a team, and we say, hey, have we had a third-party check on grammar and adding mistakes? We used to call it in the accounting business a detailed review. Has somebody detailed reviewed your work? And everybody goes, yeah, absolutely, including the incompetent person says, yeah, absolutely. I had Jane Doe come in. She did all my ads for me, checked all my spelling, agree with my conclusions, and everybody's happy and feels like they've really covered themselves, and they're going to have a great presentation to the board. And so same thing happens. You do the presentation to the board, and this person, the incompetent person's portion of that presentation has the same adding mistakes, spelling mistakes as we described before. Well, what happened? Well, they just lied to you. There was no Jane Doe doing a detailed review. And now how do you feel? You've been lied to. You feel angry, way more angry when you thought they were just incompetent. You feel angry more so because you've been lied to. Because as humans, we value trust more than we value competence. We value trust more than we value competence. Trust is greater than competence. It's a deeper level of emotional anger when someone has lied to you rather than just simply blissfully being incompetent. Now, let's say that same group of people, one of them takes you out one day and says, hey, we got to leave work. We got to go for a drive. We got to do some things. And you go along for the ride. And instead of doing what you were supposed to be doing, this person sidetracks you, takes you over to a bar. And when you walk into the bar, there's a, hey, surprise party for you. By the way, I understand there was a party last night for Mark Wilk in Toronto for his 60th birthday. What's the right word? He's just, he's the godfather of private jet sales in Canada, and a wonderful guy. So congratulations, Mark. So anyways, you're going to this surprise party, and you've been lied to. You were told you were going to go off and do something else, but now you've been dragged into this party for your benefit because it's your birthday. How do you feel? How do you feel about this? You feel amazing, right? You feel like, oh, I'm surprised. Oh, you got me. You've been lied to, but you're not angry about it. Why? Because as humans, we value benevolence more than we value trust, more than we value competence. Competence, trust, benevolence. That's the way it works. And that's what you need to think about when you're doing pitches or selling anything. Most people pitch competence. We are the best damn roofers in our community. We know how to put shingles on, new shingles on a roof, right? We pitch competence. But what you should really be thinking is that competence and trust are a barrier to entry. No one's going to buy if you're incompetent. No one's going to buy from you if you're untrustworthy. That is a barrier to entry, but they're not going to buy from you because you're competent and trustworthy. The only reason they're going to buy to you, the real reason, is because they think that you care about them, and their problem, that you're benevolent. Now, how might you do that, you ask? So let's say you're a small roofing company in a small community, I asked ChatGPT this question this morning, and it had some good ideas. It said in your marketing and your pitches, you can highlight for benevolence, community engagement. Doesn't mean you should ignore, by the way, trust, and it doesn't mean you should ignore competence. You have to establish that you've gotten over that barrier, but you need to focus more on benevolence and benevolence first. Community engagement, sponsor local events, volunteer work, educational workshops. Example, at XYZ Roofing, we believe in giving back to our community. That's why we sponsor the annual town fair, organize regular roof safety workshops for homeowners. I like that one a lot, the roof safety workshops. That's a great idea. It shows benevolence, that we care about the homeowner and their roofing situation. Another idea it gives out is to emphasize charitable contributions. Yeah, that's all good. For me, that's from ChatGPT, but for me, I would be a lot more personal about this. I would emphasize the idea that you clean up after yourself, that you don't leave shingle nails all over the property and garbage, and that you have a dedicated team of people that come in and inspect post-work everything that's been done, and that it is clean and safe for the occupants. Your workers could be dressed in matching uniforms that are clean, and you just generally don't have sketchy people, which might be typical in that industry, sketchy people working on the site that could scare the occupants. You need to make them feel safe and make them feel that you care about their house and about their problem. That's one way that you might be able to pitch benevolence in that particular industry. Always remember, benevolence over trust, over competence. Okay. And you can do the same. We talk about in this coaching session, we talk about the raising money and pitching for investors. Well, how do you pitch benevolence to an investor? Well, one way, it's not a direct hit like a roofing company, but one way is to be empathetic, to try to understand what the investor is thinking. What the investor is thinking is, I don't want to lose my money. Who are these people? Why, how do I know that they care that I'm safe and I make a return on investment on this, right? And you can do that by really emphasizing everything that is required from their point of view. The return, how you're going to get the return. You're going to have an ROI of 20% on this over whatever period of time, right? You can walk them through the math. Instead of what happened in the coaching session, where the person just said, hey, here's my business plan. It's got all of my information in it, and I'd like you to give me some money. It didn't talk about the investor at all, right? It didn't talk about the return. It didn't talk about the structure of the deal, how the investor gets into the deal, which is going to be equity, or it's going to be debt, or some combination of that. It didn't talk about how they get out of the deal. If it's equity, what are we going to do? Are we going to sell this business down the road? What are the risks associated with that? And it didn't talk about security in between. If it's debt, is it a secured debt or is unsecured debt? What happens when something goes wrong if the investor is in an equity position? You could lead with that information, or at least be explicit with that information, and show some empathy with what the investor might be thinking. And that demonstrates to the investor that maybe, just maybe, this company that is trying to get some money from me understands what I care about and cares about the same thing and is going to look after me. Very, very important. Those are all my prepared comments for today. We're a little bit short, but we didn't ever get Instagram online, so that's disappointing. Not sure what happened there. Anyways, what else? Any comments that I need to address? No, I think we're good. We will talk to you tomorrow. I think we have a guest coming in tomorrow, so that'll be fun. See you then.